August 9th, 1949, Fenway Park, Boston. Dom DiMaggio steps to the plate, 34 consecutive games with a hit. Red Sox record, one more game, and he enters truly historic territory. The pitch comes, Dom swings, contact. The ball rockets toward deep center field. Someone is running. Yankees center fielder, Joe DiMaggio, Dom's older brother, perfect catch, streak over. Joe caught it. Joe ended Dom's record chase. Two brothers, both center fielders. One became a legend, the other was forgotten. How did it happen? This is the story of the Dom DiMaggio, the little professor, the forgotten brother, the player who might have been great, but spent his entire career standing in the shadow of the greatest player of his generation, the shadow cast by his own brother. San Francisco, North Beach, 1920s, DiMaggio household, 9 children. One Sicilian immigrant father, Giuseppe, wanted his sons to be fishermen. 3 boys wanted baseball instead. Vince, Joe, Dom. Giuseppe hated it until Vince placed $1,500 on the table, baseball earnings. Giuseppe's attitude changed immediately. All 3 became major league center fielders, but one became exceptional. Joe joined the Yankees in 1936, hit .323, 29 homers rookie year. By 1941, 56-game hitting streak. By career end, Joltin' Joe, the Yankee Clipper, icon of baseball's most dominant franchise. Dom, meanwhile, was different. At 5 feet 9 inches, he was shorter than Joe by 5 inches. He wore glasses which earned him the nickname, the Little Professor. He looked more like an accountant than a ball player, but when he stepped onto the field, Dom DiMaggio could play. His rookie season with the Red Sox, 1940, he hit .301. He scored 81 runs in just 108 games. He was named to the All-Star team in 1941 and 1942. He could hit, he could field, and he could run. In many ways, he was a more complete player than Joe. Better speed, better arm, better range in the outfield, but nobody cared, because Joe played in New York for the Yankees, and Dom played in Boston for the Red Sox. And in the 1940s, that difference mattered enormously. The Yankees were winners. From 1936 to 1951, Joe's tenure with the team, they won 10 American League pennants and 9 World Series championships. The Red Sox, during Dom's career, won 1 pennant and lost the World Series. The narrative was clear. Joe was a champion, Dom was not. But statistics told a different story. Dom was exceptional. 1948. AL record, 503 putouts, 526 total chances. Record stood 30 years. Led AL in putouts 4 times. 2.9 chances per game, still AL outfielder record. Led AL in runs twice, triples once, stolen bases once. A folk song captured the irony. Who's better than his brother Joe, Dominic DiMaggio? But when it comes to getting dough, they give it all to brother Joe, sung in Boston bars. Even fans acknowledged Joe got fame, money, glory. Then came 1949, the year that would define Dom's relationship with his brother forever. Dom started the season strong. By early July, he was hitting over .300, and the Red Sox were contending for the pennant. Then, on July 1st, something clicked. Dom got a hit. The next game, another hit. And another, and another. By early August, Dom had hit safely in 33 consecutive games. One more game would tie the Red Sox record. The streak captivated Boston. Finally, Dom was getting national attention. Finally, people were talking about the younger DiMaggio not as Joe's brother, but as a player in his own right. Sports writers began comparing his streak to Joe's famous 56-game run. Dom was modest about it, saying he was just trying to help his team win, but privately, this meant everything to him. August 8th, 1949. Dom got his hit in the 34th consecutive game. He had tied the Red Sox record. One more game, and he would own it alone. One more game, and he would cement his legacy as something more than Joe DiMaggio's little brother. August 9th, 1949, the opponent, the New York Yankees. The opposing center fielder, Joe DiMaggio. The game was played at Yankee Stadium. Dom came to bat in the 3rd inning. The count went to 3-2. The next pitch was outside. Dom reached for it and made contact. Not great contact. The ball floated toward deep center field. It looked like it might drop for a hit. Dom ran hard toward first base, but Joe DiMaggio was already moving. He had read the swing, anticipated the trajectory. He ran back, tracking the ball over his shoulder. At the warning track, he extended his glove. Perfect catch. The ball settled into the webbing. Dom's streak was over. Joe had ended his brother's hitting streak. The moment was captured by photographers. Joe, holding the ball, expressionless as always. Dom, standing on the field, watching. The image would become famous in baseball circles, not because of the catch itself, which was routine for a player of Joe's caliber, but because of what it represented. The younger brother reaching for greatness, and the older brother, almost casually, taking it away. After the game, and reporters asked Dom about the catch, he was gracious. "Joe made a great play," he said simply. "That's baseball." Reporters asked Joe about ending his brother's streak. Joe shrugged. "I was just playing my position," he said. "The ball was hit to center field. I caught it. That's my job." Neither brother showed emotion. Neither acknowledged the deeper meaning of the moment. But everyone watching understood. Dom had come so close. And Joe, whether intentionally or not, had stopped him. Dom would start a new hitting streak the next day. But it lasted only 16 games. His moment was gone. The national attention faded. The sports writers moved on to other stories. Dom DiMaggio returned to being a very good player on a very good team that never quite won the championship. And Joe went on to win his third MVP award that year. Next, the Yankees won the pennant. Dom and the Red Sox finished second, one game behind. This pattern would repeat itself throughout their careers. Dom would have excellent seasons. The Red Sox would contend. But Joe and the Yankees would always finish ahead. 9 times Joe won the World Series. Dom won none. But the frustration for Dom went beyond championships. It was about recognition, about respect, about being seen as his own person rather than Joe DiMaggio's brother. In 1950, Dom had the best offensive season of his career. He hit .328, led the American League in runs with 131, triples with 11, and stolen bases with 15. He was spectacular. He should have received serious MVP consideration. He finished 20th in the voting. That same year, Joe hit .301 with 32 home runs. Solid numbers, but not exceptional by his standards. The Yankees won the pennant. Joe finished third in MVP voting. The lesson was clear. Being great in Boston meant less than being good in New York. Being a DiMaggio meant being compared to Joe. And compared to Joe, everyone fell short. Dom's closest friend on the Red Sox was Ted Williams. They formed one of the great friendships in baseball history. Williams, Doer, Pesky, and Dom. The teammates, as they would later be called. Dom and Ted were especially close. They roomed together on road trips. They talked hitting for hours. They understood each other's frustration with always being second. Williams would later say that Dom was the most underrated player of their generation. People looked at him and saw Joe's little brother, Williams said. Nay, they didn't see what he actually was, one of the best center fielders in baseball. But Williams also understood something else. He understood that Dom lived in a particular kind of hell. Dom could not escape his brother. Every article about Dom mentioned Joe. Every accomplishment was measured against Joe's accomplishments. Even Dom's teammates would occasionally slip and call him Joe by mistake. Dom never complained, not publicly. He was too dignified for that. But those close to him knew it bothered him. How could it not? To be very good at something and have everyone focus on how you are not as good as your brother. To work your entire life to be recognized as your own person and have every introduction include Joe DiMaggio's brother. Then came 1942. Dom and Joe were both selected to the All-Star game. Oh, they played together in the same outfield. For 9 innings, the DiMaggio brothers patrolled center field side by side, Dom in right, Joe in center. It should have been a celebration, a proud moment for the family. Instead, all the newspaper coverage focused on Joe. The photos showed Joe. The interviews featured Joe. Dom was mentioned almost as an afterthought. Joe's brother also played. After 1942, both brothers enlisted, World War II. Dom served Navy 1943 to 1945. 3 prime years gone. Joe served same 3 years. Difference? Joe was already a legend before leaving. 56-game streak, MVP awards, World Series rings. When he returned, still Joltin' Joe. Dom returned as Joe's brother. Dom played 7 more seasons, 5 All-Star selections, best defensive center fielder, hit .3004 times, team leader, but 0 championships, 0 MVPs, no remembered records. His 34-game streak remained Red Sox record but nationally forgotten. Dom retired 1953. .298 average, 1,000-plus runs, premier center fielder, Hall of Fame-worthy career. But not inducted, not even close. Sports writers barely considered him. Dom DiMaggio retired into obscurity. Joe became cultural icon, married Marilyn Monroe, lived as one of America's most famous athletes. Joe retired 1951. .325 average, 361 home runs, 3 MVPs, 9 World Series. Hall of Fame, 1955. 1969, named baseball's greatest living player. Dom retired 1953. .298 average, 87 home runs, 0 MVPs, 0 championships. Red Sox, Hall of Fame, 1995. National recognition never came. 2009, Dom died, age 92. New York Times obituary began. Dom DiMaggio, the Yankees' great Joe DiMaggio's brother, and a 7-time All-Star center fielder for the Boston Red Sox, died Friday. Even in death, defined by Joe. But here is what the obituaries missed. Here is what history often overlooks. Dom DiMaggio was not just Joe's brother. He was a complete player. Speed, power, defense, baseball intelligence. He did everything well. He was beloved by his teammates. He was respected by his opponents. He played the game the right way for 11 seasons and never embarrassed himself or his team. The question is not whether Dom was as good as Joe. He was not. Joe was one of the greatest players in baseball history. The question is whether Dom's career deserves to be remembered on its own merits, and the answer is yes. Dom held the Red Sox record for consecutive games with a hit for decades. He set defensive records that stood for 30 years. He scored over 100 runs per season throughout his career. He was one of only 3 players to maintain that pace. For the years he played, he led the major leagues in hits. In any other era, without any other comparison, Dom DiMaggio would be remembered as a great player. But he had the misfortune of being Joe DiMaggio's brother. And in baseball, as in life, context matters. Timing matters. Circumstances matter. If Dom had been born 10 years later, he might have avoided the comparison. If he had played for a different team, in a different city, his accomplishments might have received more attention. If his brother had not been Joe DiMaggio, Dom might be in the Hall of Fame today. But those are the hypotheticals of history. The reality is this. Dom DiMaggio was a very good player who lived in the shadow of a great one. He handled it with dignity. He never complained publicly. He never blamed Joe. He simply played baseball at the highest level and accepted that his legacy would always be tied to someone else. In David Halberstam's book, The Teammates, which chronicles the friendship between Dom, Ted Williams, Bobby Doerr, and Johnny Pesky, there is a moment late in Dom's life when he finally addresses the comparison. An interviewer asks him, "Do you ever wish you had not been Joe DiMaggio's brother?" Dom thinks for a long moment. Then he says, "I am proud to be Joe's brother. He is a great man and was a great player. But yes, sometimes I wish people knew me for me, not for being related to him, just for me." That is the tragedy of Dom DiMaggio. Not that he was not good enough, but that being very good was not enough when your brother was one of the greatest ever. August 9th, 1949. The ball hangs in the air, and Dom watches from the infield. Joe runs back in center field. The catch is made, the streak ends, and in that moment, Dom's place in history is sealed, not as a great player, but as the brother who almost achieved something legendary, only to have his own brother take it away. Whether Joe meant to end the streak or was simply doing his job is irrelevant. The symbolism is perfect. The younger brother reaching for greatness, the older brother effortlessly taking it from him. That image defines their relationship. That image explains why everyone remembers Joe and almost no one remembers Dom. But we should remember Dom, not because he was better than Joe, but because his story is the story of countless people who were very good at what they did, but had the misfortune of being compared to someone truly great. His story reminds us that context shapes legacy, that timing determines how history remembers you, that being good is not always enough. Dom DiMaggio deserves better than to be remembered only as Joe's brother. He deserves to be remembered as a 7-time All-Star, a defensive wizard, a consistent hitter, and a complete player who gave everything to the game. He deserves to be remembered for the 34-game hitting streak, even if his brother ended it. He deserves to be remembered for leading the league in runs, triples, and stolen bases, for setting defensive records, for being one of the best players of his generation. But baseball is not always fair. History is not always just. And sometimes, no matter how good you are, the shadow of someone greater makes it impossible for people to see your light. That is the story of Dom DiMaggio. Be the forgotten brother, the little professor, the player who was great but lived next to greatness. And in baseball, as in life, proximity to greatness often obscures your own achievements. Who's better than his brother Joe? The song asked. Dom DiMaggio, the song answered. But when it comes to being remembered, they gave it all to brother Joe.